The sun bled gold across the Texas horizon, turning the dry plains into waves of fire and shadow. Clara Mae tightened her grip on the reins as her mare trotted along the ridge, dust swirling around her boots. It was supposed to be an easy ride back to the ranch after checking the south fence, but when you live under a sky this wide, easy has a way of turning into trouble. She heard the rattle before she saw it, a sound like pebbles in a tin cup. Then came the strike, fast, sharp, and full of venomous promise. Pain seared up her leg, white, hot and blinding. Clara cried out, clutching at her skirt as her mare danced sideways, ears pinned. Hold still. She hissed to the horse, but her own breath came ragged. She saw it, a coiled rattler sliding back into the rocks, tail still twitching. Her vision swam. She stumbled, hitting the ground hard, dust filling her mouth. The bite burned like fire, pulsing under her skin. Panic welled up as she tore at her boot. Her fingers trembled. The swelling had already started. A shadow fell over her. "Don't move, Miss Clara." The voice was calm, deep, and steady, the kind of tone that could make a man sound like salvation itself. Sheriff Colt Harding knelt beside her, his spurs jingling softly. He'd been trailing cattle rustlers along the ridge, but one look told him this was more urgent. "Where's the bite?" he asked, scanning her pale face. Clara pointed weakly to her thigh. His expression darkened. "It's swelling fast," he muttered. "We ain't got much time." He pulled off his hat, tossed it aside, and yanked the bandana from his neck. Clara tried to protest, but the pain was too fierce. "Sheriff," she started, but he was already working. He tied the cloth tight above the bite, his rough hands sure and steady despite the urgency. "You're gonna feel a pinch," he warned, voice low. "Ain't no way around it." She stared at him, half afraid, half trusting. "What are you?" But then he did it, the unthinkable. Colt lifted her skirt just enough to reach the wound, leaned down and pressed his lips to her skin. Clara froze, her heart thundering louder than the cicadas. He drew the venom out with short, deliberate pulls, spitting into the dirt between breaths. The world seemed to hold still, the rustling grass, the setting sun, even the wind. When he looked up again, sweat streaked his temple. "That should buy us time," he said softly, "but you'll need a doctor soon." Clara blinked, dazed. Her cheeks burned hotter than the Texas sun. "You," she began, but her voice caught. The pain dulled to a heavy throb. "You saved me," she whispered, almost disbelieving. Colt's blue eyes met hers, steady and kind despite the roughness in his manner. "Wouldn't be right lettin' someone like you go to the dust over a rattler," he said, standing. "And now, let's get you on your feet." His hand was warm as he helped her up, supporting her against his chest. The horizon blurred in the heat, the world fading to gold and rose. Clara's leg trembled under her weight, but she leaned on him, feeling the solid strength beneath his shirt. "You always show up when there's trouble?" she asked, trying for humor though her voice shook. He smiled, just a flicker of warmth that made her chest tighten. "Seems like trouble's got a habit of find in you, Miss Clara." She laughed weakly, and for a moment the fear lifted. They moved slowly toward his horse, each step careful. Colt kept his arm around her, his touch steady and sure. The air smelled of sage and dust, the kind of scent that always lingered after a long day's ride. He glanced down at her leg, where the makeshift bandage was already stained. "We'll ride to Doc Harris," he said. "You hold on tight, you hear?" She nodded. "I trust you," she murmured, surprising herself with how much she meant it. As he lifted her onto his horse, the last sliver of sun dipped below the hills. The first stars began to shimmer overhead. Clara felt dizzy, but she couldn't tell if it was the venom or the man beside her. He mounted behind her, steadying her with one arm. "Easy now," he said quietly. The night wind rose around them, cool against her flushed skin. She leaned back slightly, feeling his heartbeat through his shirt. The sound matched her own, slow, strong, and steady as the open land. They rode into the twilight, the world stretching endlessly before them. The danger had passed for now, but something else had taken root, something strange and electric between them. Clara closed her eyes, letting the rhythm of the horse carry her. Colt looked ahead, jaw tight, mind already on the miles ahead and the promise of dawn. But in that quiet moment, neither could deny the truth simmering beneath the surface. Sometimes, what starts with fear ends with something far more powerful. The prairie wind rolled low through the grasslands as night deepened over the hills. Colt guided the horse carefully, keeping Clara close to steady her against each jolt. Her leg ached, but the warmth of his arm around her made the pain more bearable. The stars spread across the sky like silver dust, lighting their path faintly. The world felt endless, just the two of them, the rhythm of hooves, and the faint cry of a coyote somewhere far away. Clara leaned her head against his shoulder, exhaustion tugging at her. "You should have left me," she murmured. "Would have been easier." Colt chuckled low, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Never was one for easy." He said, "Besides, you're a stubborn one. Figured you'd haunt me if I let you die." She smiled faintly despite the pain. His words weren't tender, but they carried something steadier respect, the kind that came from long days and harder lessons. He looked down at her face in the moonlight, soft and pale, and wondered when he'd started caring more than he meant to. "You hold on, Clara. We're near halfway now." She tried to keep her eyes open, fighting the haze creeping through her veins. The venom still worked slow, like a shadow under her skin. Each breath came shallow, but the smell of leather and pine from his coat steadied her. "You're awfully calm for a man with a half-dead woman on his horse," she said weakly. He smiled without looking at her. "Seen worse." He replied, "Once had to haul my deputy after he got shot in the foot chas in his own hat." Clara laughed, a breathy sound that caught on the wind. Her laughter faded into silence, replaced by the creak of the saddle and the soft thud of hooves. Colt's eyes scanned the horizon. A faint light flickered ahead, a lantern swinging from the porch of a small cabin. Relief loosened his shoulders. "We'll stop there," he said. "Doc Harris'll be ridden through in the mornin'. You need rest, not miles." She nodded, too weak to argue. He felt the weight of her head slip slightly, then righted her gently. "Stay with me now," he whispered. "Almost there." The cabin came into view, weathered but solid against the darkness. He swung down first, then turned to lift her carefully into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, and the faint tremor in her body sent a pang through him. Inside, he laid her on a narrow cot, the air thick with the scent of old pine and smoke. He struck a match, lighting the lamp, and the room glowed softly. Her face was pale, but her breathing steadied once the pain dulled. Colt knelt beside her, checking the bandage. Her eyes fluttered open. "Don't look so worried," she whispered. "I've been through worse." He smirked. "You keep saying that, and I'm gonna start thinking you enjoy getting near killed." She smiled faintly. "Maybe I just like the attention." His gaze lingered a second too long before he looked away, busying himself with the kettle on the stove. He poured warm water into a tin cup and handed it to her. "Drink slow," he said. "Gotta keep the blood movin'." She obeyed, watching him through the steam. He moved with quiet purpose, his every motion deliberate. Years of law work had made him efficient, but something about her had him uneasy. Maybe it was the way she faced danger without flinching. Maybe it was the way she laughed even when she hurt. Whatever it was, he found himself glancing back too often, making sure her chest still rose and fell with each breath. When she caught him looking again, her lips curved in a faint smile. "You're fussin' over me, Sheriff." He shrugged. "Habit, I reckon." Hours passed slow. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the shutters. Clara stirred, murmuring in her sleep. Colt sat near the fire, hat pulled low, but his eyes never closed. He thought of the world beyond this small cabin, of the rustlers still out there, the trail growing colder. He should have been chasing them. Instead, he was here, guarding a woman who'd somehow tangled herself in his sense of duty. He sighed softly. "You sure do complicate things, Clara Mae." He muttered, half to himself. The fire popped in answer. Near dawn she woke, blinking at the soft gray light spilling through the cracks in the wall. Her legs still throbbed, but the swelling had gone down. Colt sat slumped in the chair beside her, asleep at last, his hat tilted forward. She studied his face, the rough stubble, the small scar on his jaw, the weariness that never seemed to leave him. Something inside her shifted, quiet and certain. He wasn't just a man of law. He was a man who carried too much weight and never asked for help. She reached out, brushing his sleeve. He stirred, blinking awake. "Mornin'," she whispered. "You stayed up all night." He straightened, adjusting his hat. Didn't trust the wind, he said, though they both knew better. She smiled. "You're a terrible liar, Sheriff." He grinned faintly. "And you're a handful." For a long moment they just looked at each other, the kind of look that said more than either dared to speak aloud. Then Colt stood, clearing his throat. "Doc'll be here soon. You'll be on your feet before sunset." Clara nodded, the corners of her mouth curving gently. "And then what?" she asked. He hesitated, glancing toward the open door and the wide, waiting plains beyond. "Then I go back to work," he said. "And you go back to causin' trouble." She laughed softly, the sound warm and bright in the morning light. Outside, the wind had quieted, the world calm again. But both knew something had changed in that long night, something unspoken, steady as the heartbeat of the land itself.